Welcome back to the Beginner Smocking series. Today I'm showing you the two basic smocking stitches, which are the cable stitch and the wave stitch. And I consider these the basic stitches because pretty much in my experience, every smocking plate is going to be using some combination of these two stitches. So here I have my piece of pleated fabric. I have the right side up, and if you ever need to know the difference, when you unpleat or smooth out your fabric, on the wrong side you will have a longer stitch, and on the right side you'll only see a little bit of the thread. So that's how you can tell the difference. Now I will say that sometimes when I use my smocking pleater, I run my fabric through the wrong way because I never can remember which way it is, and so with that it doesn't really hurt to necessarily have it backwards, like if you have a printed fabric and you need obviously the print up on the top. But this is just a reference especially for hand pleated pieces like this. So here on this piece I have 7 rows pleated. The top one and the bottom one are holding rows. They will not get smocked. So I'm going to start on the second one from the top with the cable stitch. So anytime you're starting a row of stitching, you take your needle to the back side of your work and on the left side of a pleat, and this is if you're right-handed. So you're going to come from the back to the front with the needle. Then you're going to take your needle and you're going to pass over 2 pleats, so 1, 2, and you're going to stitch from the right side of that second pleat to the left side. And as you're doing this, you're either going to hold the excess of the thread under or over your needle, depending on if you want a down stitch or an up stitch, and I'll show you the difference in a minute. So that's your first stitch. For your second stitch, you're once again going to pass over 2 pleats. So this one that you just stitched into, and then the next one. You're again going to go from the right to the left of the pleat with your stitch, and the tail of the thread needs to be opposite of your last stitch. So on the last stitch I held it down. On this stitch I'll hold it up and pull it fairly tight. And that is just the basis of a cable stitch. So you'll always be passing over 2 pleats, entering the pleat from the right side to the left, and then pulling it, making sure to alternate between holding the thread up and down. And occasionally on some patterns you will see it referenced as an up or down cable stitch. So that just refers to where you hold your thread, either above or below your needle. Every once in a while you can see here where the fabric will just kind of pucker funny with the pleats. I'm not sure what causes that. I do know that I get it both with machine pleated and hand pleated threads. So if you get to a point where you look at it and it's kind of funky and you can't tell what's going on, I find that just adding a little bit of pressure will pull the pleat back into place so that I can see what's going on and not get off my stitch count. And this stitch is worked in a straight line, so I am just lining it up with the pleating thread as I go. And I'm using 3 strands of embroidery floss here. So embroidery floss comes in 6 strands, and you just split it down to 3, and the thread is not doubled so that it can come off the needle pretty easily. On the one hand, sometimes that means it just slips off and you have to rethread it more often, but on the other hand, if there's a mistake, I can easily take the needle off and pull the thread out without having to undo everything from the beginning. So I'm just going to keep doing the cable stitch till I get to the end of my row, and then I'll show you how to tie it off. So I'm at the end of my row. I've already done the last stitch. And to tie off the thread, you need to get it back to the wrong side of the fabric. So I'm just going to take my needle, and right there you can see it's between these last two pleats. I'm just going to go down in between the pleats. That gets the thread to the back of the fabric. Flip it over and tie a knot. And then just clip it off. So that is the cable stitch. So next is the wave stitch. And this is what creates kind of like a chevron design, so it will go up and down. Oftentimes in your instructions it will say something like a 5-step, 1-space wave. And so what that means when it says space is how many rows. So 1 space would mean you're starting on one row and then either going up or down to another row. If it said 2 spaces, that would be 2 rows. You'd be going up 2 rows, or 1.5 or something like that. The number of steps is the number of stitches it should take you to get through that number of spaces. So in this case, 5 steps means it should take me 5 stitches to get from one row to another. So a wave stitch, you start by bringing your needle up from the back, and you're always going to start with a cable stitch. And when your wave is traveling up, then your thread will be underneath, so you would start with a down cable. And if your wave is going down, then your thread needs to be above it, and you would start with an up cable. I'm going up, so I'm starting with a down cable, and then 5 stitches to move up to the top. So with each stitch that I take, I'm going to move slightly higher on the next pleat. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th stitch should be right on the next row, the next pleating row. 4. Now 1 up cable, and then I start working my way down. And since I'm now going down, the thread is going to stay above the needle as I stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another down cable. And as I repeat this, it will start creating that wave. And just like before, this is going over 2 pleats. So you're crossing over 2 pleats, entering from the right to the left of that second pleat. So I am going to keep working across. And once you get all the way across, you tie off just like you did with the cable stitch. So here is the finished wave stitches. I did 2 rows, so you can see you can do it like this, where you just do multiple rows of the wave stitch in the same direction and get one look or you can turn these wave stitches into diamonds. And to do that, you're just going to work the wave stitch opposite of how you did it earlier. So you decide where you want your stitches to connect. So do you want it going above or below? In this case, I'm going to go down. So I'm going to come up right here at one of these down cable stitches, and I'm going to work it as an up cable, and then work my way down to the opposite row, still using those 5 stitches. To get down to the other row, and then the 1 cable stitch, this time down, before working my way back up to meet the cable from the last row. And then the up cable. And you can see how that creates a diamond. So sometimes it's inevitable that you're going to run out of thread mid-row. So in order to do that, before you run out of your thread too much, and we'll just pretend that this is a little shorter, you're going to stop, and you're going to take your needle and put it down to the back in between the 2 pleats where you already are. So you can see how this thread is in between these 2 pleats. Well, the needle is going to go down right in between those pleats to take it to the back and tie it off, basically just like you would if you were at the end of the row. So tie a knot and clip it off, and then to restart it, you just re-thread your needle, put your knot in it, and come to the fabric, and you can see where the old knot is, and you want to basically reinsert your needle in approximately the same space above or below the first knot. You don't want to go right through it. And that will put you right back between the same 2 pleats where you left off, and you just continue stitching like you were before. And those are the 2 basic smocking stitches, as well as how to start and end your smocking. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time.